I had 3 months to prove he was stealing or lose everything my father built. The clock started the day I became Ella, the maid. I lost my dad, then I almost lost his life's work. The night I found $80,000 missing was the night I became someone else. They thought I was just the new cleaning girl. They had no idea I owned the place and I was there to take them down. But how I took it back, let me start at the beginning. My name is Alara Vance. For 2 months everyone called me Ella, and the man stealing from me was my favorite employee. The scent of caramelized onions and searing steak should have felt like home. Standing in the kitchen doorway of Vance's hearth, watching the dinner rush, it was the smell of betrayal. It was a smell layered with memory. The first layer was my childhood, the sizzle of my father's famous ribeye, the cloud of aromatic smoke that meant all was right. The second layer was grief, the same smells clinging to his old flannel shirt after he was gone. And now, the third layer, a bitter metallic tang of deceit underlying it all, a spoilage only I could detect. It's just not adding up, Alara, the accountant had said 3 months ago, spreading papers across my father's old oak desk like a coroner laying out instruments. A restaurant doing this volume should be clearing twice what you're depositing. I had inherited the restaurant and its debts 18 months earlier when my father's heart finally gave out after 40 years of 14-hour days. The grief was a physical weight, but the restaurant had been my anchor. The rhythmic chop of knives, the hiss of the grill, the warm bread scent in every brick, these were the pulses and breaths of my father's legacy. Now, the diagnosis was in. Someone was bleeding it dry. I tightened the strings of my simple apron, plain white, like all the other kitchen maids wore. My dark hair was pinned back severely under a cheap hairnet. Glasses I didn't need perched on my nose. To the staff, I was Ella, the new dishwasher, quiet and desperate enough for work to accept cash under the table. I had practiced my posture in the mirror. A slight slump, a downward tilt of the chin, a way of moving that suggested I was trying to occupy less space. No one recognized the owner's daughter. Why would they? My father had kept my life and the restaurant separate. The staff from his era was mostly gone. Only Malcolm remained. Malcolm Reed, general manager. My father's right hand for 15 years. The man who'd held me at the funeral, his voice breaking as he promised, "I'll keep the flame burning for him, Ellie, I promise." The flame, it seemed, was burning cash. "Ella, table 6 needs bussing?" Malcolm's voice carried across the dining room, smooth as the single malt scotch he drank after hours. I nodded, grabbing my bus tub. "Yes, Mr. Reed." I moved through the dining room, a space I knew in my bones. Every chipped tile near the service station, every worn spot on the hardwood floor held a memory. Here was where I'd taken my first steps. There was where my mother's paintings once hung before the cancer took her. I cleared plates from table 6, a half-eaten pork chop, congealing potatoes. A waste, my father would have sighed. As I scraped food into the compost bin, I watched Malcolm through the service window. He was at the bar, laughing with a regular, his hand resting on the shoulder of Lena, the young hostess. Lena smiled up at him, a little too brightly. Malcolm was 50, but handsome in a weathered way, charismatic. The staff loved him. The suppliers loved him. The bank loved him. And for a year and a half, I had loved him too, as the guardian of my father's legacy, until the numbers stopped lying. 3 months earlier, in my father's office, the truth had begun to coagulate. "Skimming," I had asked the accountant Rita. "Sophisticated skimming," she corrected, tapping a spreadsheet. She showed me liquor invoices, food costs, all inflated. The paperwork all flowed through one office, Malcolm's office. And there was the signature issue, a contract with a new linen service signed by E. Vance. A forgery that curled like Malcolm's M. "How much?" I'd asked, the room tilting. "Over 18 months, conservatively. 80,000? $80,000. The difference between keeping the doors open and losing everything. The police were polite but unimpressed. "It's a civil matter. Get proof or get a lawyer." That night, sitting in the dark restaurant after closing, I made my decision. I couldn't sue, the legal fees would sink me. I needed undeniable evidence. I needed to become invisible. So for 2 months, I was a ghost in my own restaurant. I arrived before dawn, scrubbed pots until my hands were raw, mopped floors, saw the restaurant from the underbelly. I installed tiny cameras, one in the office air vent, one in the dry storage. I checked the feeds every night. I saw small things. Malcolm taking a bottle of scotch, adjusting invoices, meeting a supplier in the parking lot for a thick envelope, but not the smoking gun. Not yet. Then, on a packed Friday night, I saw Malcolm signal to Ben, the head chef. A nod toward the back alley. I grabbed a bag of trash and followed. The alley was slick with grease. Malcolm stood with Ben and a slick-haired man I didn't know. "Next week," Malcolm was saying. "The full shipment, you have the labels." Just like last time, premium tags on rail grade, no one will know until the cork crumbles. Wine fraud. Not just skimming, but actively swapping out expensive wine for cheap swill. That was my proof. I shifted my weight, and my shoe scuffed a broken bottle. All three men froze, turning toward the sound. I ducked behind a dumpster, holding my breath. Footsteps approached. I did the only thing I could think of. I let the trash bag fall, then slumped against the wall, playing unconscious. Ben rounded the corner. "Shit, it's the new girl." "Ella?" Malcolm crouched, his fingers pressing against my throat for a pulse. Then, to my horror, he slipped a hand into my apron pocket. He pulled out my burner phone, checked it, dropped it back. His hand brushed against my real phone, hidden in my waistband under my shirt. Did he feel it? "Help me get her up," Malcolm said. They hauled me inside, sat me in the office with a sugary soda. The moment they left, I was on my feet. Malcolm's desk was tidy, the old paper ledger was there. The math was off, small addition errors always short. A few $100s each day. The door opened. It was Lena, the hostess. Her eyes were sharp, probing. "You overheard something in the alley," she said, not asked. "I didn't hear anything, I was dizzy." "You shouldn't worry about that. Just do your job, stay quiet. Malcolm takes care of people who are loyal." The warning was clear. Lena was in on it. After she left, Malcolm returned. He stood observing me. "Feeling better, Ella?" "Yes, sir." "Good." He sat, typed on his computer, his back to me. Then he swiveled. "You overheard something in the alley." A statement. "I didn't." He opened a drawer, slid a crisp $100 bill toward me. A bribe, a test. I took it, my hand trembling. "Thank you, Mr. Reed." His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his expression flashing irritation. "Actually, Ella, do you know how to run a floor polisher? The dining room needs a buff. It'll take an hour. Overtime, cash." A ploy to keep me late. But why? The basement was a time capsule, smelling of damp earth and old wood. As I dragged the polisher, my foot caught on a loose floorboard. The nails were new, shiny. I pried it up. Beneath it, wrapped in plastic, were two ledgers. One labeled Vance's Hearth Real Ledger. The other, unlabeled. I opened the first. It was a parallel set of books with Malcolm's notes in the margins. Cash actual $1,450. Delta $250 to Linen Fund. Wine swap number 7 complete. Margin $320 per case. A confession. The second ledger was a bookie's ledger. Lists of bets, payments. Next to some names. Payment overdue. Needs persuasion. Malcolm wasn't just skimming. He was running a sports book out of my father's restaurant. Footsteps creaked on the stairs. I shoved the ledgers back just as the light brightened. Malcolm descended with 2 coffees. "Find it." "Right here. I brought you coffee. Black, 2 sugars, that's how you take it, right?" A trap. I never drank coffee at work. "I don't drink coffee, sir." "My mistake." He set the cups down. "You remind me of someone, the owner's daughter." Alara, same intense eyes, always watching. My mouth went dry. "Is she nice?" "She's clever, too clever. She's been asking questions, brought in an accountant." His mask slipped. "This restaurant doesn't belong to her." "Not really. I made it profitable. I earned my share. She just inherited a piece of paper." He left me in the basement. I waited, then retrieved the ledgers. I photographed every page with my real phone. Evidence. The following week was a dance. Malcolm watched me closely. I gathered more proof. The wine swap was scheduled. I had video of him and Ben forging labels. It was time to call the police. But then Victor Carras walked in. He was a shark in an expensive suit. Lena paled. He went straight to the office. I edged closer to listen. "You're 2 weeks late, Malcolm. The VIG is compounding." "Victor, I need a few more days. The owner's daughter is sniffing around." "I don't care. You owe $85,000. Plus interest, today, or I start with the hostess, then the chef, then your sister in Albany." Malcolm's voice was strained. "Today, after close." Kara's left. Malcolm was using stolen money to pay off a loan shark. This had escalated to violence. I had a choice: call the police now or wait and try to capture the exchange. My father's voice in my memory: finish what you start, Ellie, but be smart. Bravery without a plan is just noise. I needed a plan. At 4:30 p.m., Malcolm called an early close. Only Ben, Lena, and I remained. He poured glasses of the fake wine. A toast to family, to loyalty. We drank. The wine was sour. "We have a problem," he said. "The owner is accusing us of theft. She's threatening to call the police. If that happens, we all lose our jobs." He handed out envelopes of cash, bonuses for silence. Mine was thinner. A test. He checked his watch. 4:55. "I have a supplier meeting." He grabbed a duffel bag and headed for the basement. The moment he disappeared, I stood. "Where are you going?" Ben asked. "Bathroom." I went to the electrical panel and threw the main breaker. The restaurant plunged into darkness. In the confusion, I slipped down to the basement. A flashlight beam bounced. Malcolm was at the loose floorboard, stuffing bricks of cash into the duffel bag. Hundreds of thousands. "Malcolm," I said, my voice my own. He spun, flashlight blinding me. "Ella, what?" "The power's out. Tell Ben to check the panel." "Go, that's a lot of money for a supplier." His eyes narrowed. The beam held on my face. "You need to leave, now." "I can't, my father left me a restaurant, and someone is stealing from it." He froze, then understanding. "Elara, the ledgers are gone. I have video of the wine swap, the invoices, it's over." His face contorted with rage, then a chilling calm. "You stupid girl, do you know what you've done? Kara's is coming. He doesn't leave empty-handed." A loud knock echoed from the front, 3 sharp raps. Kara's, early. Panic flashed in Malcolm's eyes. He shoved the duffel bag into my arms. "You want to be the owner? Fine, handle it, give him this. Tell him I left town, or he'll kill us both." He fled into the darkness. I stood alone, holding the bag, a lone shark at the door. The game was over. The real fight was beginning. I dropped the bag back into the cavity, covered it. I grabbed a case of the fake wine and dragged it to the back door. "Coming!" I yelled. I opened the door. Kara's stood there. "Where's Malcolm?" "Gone. He took the money and ran. He left this." I gestured to the wine. "It's the scam. The whole operation. This case is worth 12,000. The inventory is worth over 150,000. It's yours." He stepped inside, swept a flashlight around. "You're not a dishwasher." "Malcolm's accountant. He promised me 20%. Then he tried to leave me holding the bag. I'll give you everything, the records, the suppliers, in exchange for walking away." He studied me. "You have the digital files?" "On an encrypted drive." "Not here." The front door chimed. Ben and Lena had returned. "Ella, who's this?" Ben asked. Kara's hand moved toward his jacket. I spoke quickly. "He's a new investor. Malcolm sold his share." Kara's voice was final. "Mr. Reed is gone. I am the owner now. Work for me or leave." Ben and Lena, intimidated, left. Kara's turned to me. "Bring me the drive tomorrow, no police. Or the hostess disappears." He gave me a card with a number and left. I had promised him my father's restaurant. That night, I spread the evidence in my apartment. I had to trap them both. My first move was to find Malcolm. He would be desperate, panicked. I used the one thing I knew he wanted, the cash. I sent a text to the burner phone number I'd seen him use. "The money is safe. But Kara's has the restaurant. We can fix this." Alone, the old place. 10 p.m., he responded an hour later. "How do I know it's not a trap?" "You don't. But do you have another play?" The old place was a derelict sandwich shop 2 blocks over that my father had considered buying years ago. I arrived early, watching from the shadows. Malcolm arrived, skittish, a hood pulled low. He carried a small bag. I stepped out. "Elara," his voice was flat, "you have a hell of a nerve." "I have the money. And a way out for both of us." "There is no both of us. You ruined me." "Kara's ruined you. I just exposed it. He's going to take the restaurant, sell off the assets, and vanish, unless we give him what he wants. Which is you. And the money, on my terms." I laid out the plan. I would lure Kara's to a meeting, pretending to hand over the digital evidence and the location of the cash. The police would be waiting. Malcolm would get a chance to turn state's evidence, a lighter sentence. He would return the stolen money. It was the only way to keep his sister in Albany safe from Kara's threats. He listened, his face a battleground of fear and calculation. And you expect me to trust you? No, I expect you to save your own skin. The police already have the ledgers. They have the video. I'm giving you a chance to walk out of prison before you're 50. He stared at the grimy floor for a long time. Where's the money now? Somewhere Kara's will never think to look. Agree and I'll show you. He nodded, a single defeated jerk of his head. The next morning, I walked into Vance's hearth as myself. The staff froze. Ben dropped a pan. Lena's mouth fell open. I called a meeting in the dining room. My name is Allure Vance, I said. For the last 2 months, I've been working here as Ella, the dishwasher. The shock in the room was palpable. I did that because my father's restaurant was being stolen from him and from you. Malcolm Reed has been skimming profits, running a sports book, and swapping our wine for counterfeit. He's in debt to a dangerous man named Victor Carras. I saw fear, confusion, betrayal in their eyes. I have a plan to end this today, but I need your help. If you can't give it, I understand. You can leave now with pay, no hard feelings. No one moved. Ben, the chef, a big man with ink-stained forearms, spoke first. The wine, I had my suspicions. But the invoices, Malcolm said you'd approved cost-cutting measures. I approved nothing. Will you help me? He nodded. Your father was a good man. He gave me my first chef's job. Lena looked terrified. He said he'd hurt my family if I talked. He won't be able to hurt anyone after today. I need you to be convincing, Lena. Can you do that? She swallowed, then straightened her spine. Yes. I laid out their roles. Then I called Detective Miller. I explained everything, showed him the evidence. He agreed to set up the sting. It was risky, but it was the only way to get Kara's on tape and recover the stolen cash. At 3 p.m., I called Kara's. I have everything. Meet me at the store all on Harrison, Unit 114. Bring the agreement transferring the restaurant back to me, and we'll trade the drive for the deed. Come alone, he said. I will. Detective Miller fitted me with a wire. We'll be in the adjacent units. If you feel threatened, use the signal phrase, "The wine is corked." We'll come in. The storage facility was a bleak row of orange doors under a bleached sky. My heart hammered against my ribs. Unit 114 was empty save for a single folding chair. I placed a small lockbox on the floor and waited. Kara's arrived with an enforcer, a thick-necked man with dead eyes. Kara's knew immediately. You're Allure Vance, he said, smiling thinly. I looked you up after our chat, Malcolm's little boss. This is a fascinating play. The drive is in the box. The password is written inside the lid. The money is in the basement of the restaurant, under the floorboard. The deed? He didn't reach for it. You contacted the police. I'm not a fool. They're waiting for me to leave. This is a business transaction. His enforcer stepped forward, opened the box, and examined the drive. He gave a curt nod. Then, in one swift motion, he grabbed my arm, ran his hands over my jacket, and found the wire. He ripped it out and crushed it under his heel. Karas's smile vanished. Where is the real money? I told you, in the restaurant. He took it. I found the ledger, not the cash. He backhanded me across the face. The pain was sharp, bright. I don't believe you, he gestured to his man. Bring her. I screamed, not in pain, but in a calculated burst of panic. Ben, now! The door of the next unit, 115, burst open. It was Malcolm, holding the duffel bag of cash. He looked terrified but resolute. You're looking for this, Victor? Karas's calm shattered. His eyes darted from Malcolm to me, understanding the betrayal. He reached inside his jacket. Victor Karras? Police, down on the ground, now! Doors all down the row slammed open. Police in tactical gear surged out, weapons drawn. Karas's enforcer froze. Karras himself slowly raised his hands, his eyes locked on Malcolm with pure, undiluted hatred. It was over. In the aftermath, there were statements, paperwork, a blur of official proceedings. Malcolm, true to our deal, cooperated fully. He returned what was left of the stolen money, about $60,000, and his testimony sealed Karas's fate. Malcolm got 5 to 7 years. Karras got 15 to 20 for extortion, money laundering, and assault. The police found his network, and other businesses breathed easier. The real work, however, began in the silence after the sirens faded. I stood before my staff again, no disguises, my face still bruised. I owe you more than an explanation, I said. I owe you an apology. I didn't trust you, and I put some of you in danger. I was so focused on saving this place, I forgot that a restaurant isn't brick and mortar, it's the people. I laid out a new plan, complete transparency, open books. A profit-sharing model where everyone, from dishwasher to sous chef, got a quarterly percentage. A commitment to sourcing real ingredients, to serving the honest food my father had championed. If you want to stay, I would be honored. If you want to go, I will provide a glowing reference and a severance. They all stayed. We closed for a week. We pulled up every floorboard, scrubbed every surface, exorcised the ghosts. We painted the walls a warm, buttery yellow. I brought my mother's landscapes down from the attic and hung them where they belonged. Ben redesigned the menu, keeping the classics but adding his own flair. His joy returned. Lena, with her sharp eyes and newfound courage, became assistant manager, handling front of house with a steady, fair hand. We reopened quietly without fanfare. The food was simple, perfect. The wine was real. The people came back. An elderly regular, Mr. Henderson, who came every Thursday for the meatloaf, took my hand after his meal. Your dad would be proud, Alara. Not just that you saved it, but how you saved it. You cleaned it board by board. It feels like his place again. At the end of that first night, we had a family meal around the big table in the corner. I raised a glass of clean, local wine. To my father, who built this hearth. To all of you who kept the fire alive when I couldn't. And to a new beginning built together. We clinked glasses, and the sound was like a bell, clear and true. 6 months later, the restaurant was thriving. The profit-sharing checks were modest but meaningful. For some, it covered a car payment. For others, it was a seed for a vacation fund. The morale was a tangible thing, a warmth that greeted customers at the door. Rita, the accountant, placed new financial statements on my father's old oak desk. "You're in the black," she said, a genuine smile on her face. Healthily, no creative accounting required. I keep the plain white apron in my bottom desk drawer. A reminder of the invisibility, of the view from the underbelly. A reminder to never lose touch with the work or the people who do it. I learned to delegate, to trust. Ben runs the kitchen with a proud, loud authority. Lena manages the front with a graceful efficiency. I focus on the bigger picture, the community partnerships, the future. But I still work the floor. I still bus tables when we're swamped. I still know how to work the industrial polisher. My father's legacy wasn't the brick and mortar or even the famous ribeye. It was the warmth. The feeling that within these walls you were nourished in body and spirit. I had to reclaim it, not just from a thief, but from the shadow of betrayal. I had to re-earn it day by day, plate by plate. Now, when I lock up at night and walk through the empty dining room, the day's service lingers in the air. A symphony of roasted garlic and fresh-baked bread, of seared steak and lemon-scented polish. It is no longer the smell of deceit. It is the smell of honesty, of effort, of home. I turn off the lights, one by one, leaving a single candle flickering in the window, a beacon, a promise, a hearth fire. The fire is mine now, and I will tend it well.